Hey folks, welcome to the Friday stream of TON. Today we've got two awesome guests who embody the Friday spirit better than anyone else in this ecosystem. Matt, who's become the coffee king of India, single-handedly changing the way India consumes coffee. And Suhail Sameer, who's an operator turned investor and now leading OTP Ventures. We're going to ask him some really hard questions. He's a fun guy, but make sure that you stick around for that session. So before we begin, our team put together a bunch of memes. The news cycle has been slow, so we thought let's have some fun. And the team has compiled a bunch of memes for us to rate. And so why don't you join in for this? And we'll actually run through 10, 15 memes before we head to the guest section and rate them with us. Some of them hit close to home because we've been part of the startup ecosystem for long enough. So don't take anything personally. And I'll invite Dhruv to get started with the first one. Dhruv, I'm bringing up the first one on screen now.
I think I've become the first meme myself. I don't know if you could notice, but I just lost power. It'll be back soon. So I think
There's a
I'm
nice halo around you. So I think it's the
it's
blessed
flickering,
nature
right?
of live streams.
Yes. Yes. I think this happens to me all too often, but we've learned to make our peace with it. Okay, what's
All
the
right.
first meme you're looking at? Wow,
Point of view, you're a D2C brand.
you're a D2C brand, yes.
Spending everything on Meta and Google, basically.
And
That's
there's that
literally learning terms like return on ad spend and stuff all together with the ecosystem. How much
yeah,
would you give it? 10 is the highest.
10 is the highest. I think I'd give it a 6, a clean 6.
Five
It's
for
like
me.
the white figurine reminds me of Zuzu. You remember the
It's the
Vodafone mascot?
it's the circular economy, right? I mean, everything basically, I mean, that Oracle thing, Oracle share price goes up, invest more in OpenAI, buy GPUs, this thing. So that's what is happening. Like Meta and Google typically take, I mean, a good chunk of VC dollars raised by these D2C brands.
It's
Because,
uh, it's it's a generational wealth transfer. What
all
goes around
right,
comes
we
around.
have you on screen now. Urban
Why am
Company
I? How
Palace.
did this leak?
Yeah, you're
This
doing all
leak from my
the
scroll.
IPO celebrations. Did you get an allotment or what?
No, no, I didn't venture in that direction. But what does it say? You rate
It's
this one.
11 on 10.
Okay.
By the time I learn a new skill, there is a new AI tool in the market that does all of this better than me. This is actually quite true, man. This is actually so true. Every week, like GPT-5, GPT-6, GPT-25, and then it's just, I mean, dude, absurd. Perplexity, I mean, all of these things, I think, are just releasing these new browsers. So you have to learn basically new things every single day. So this one's too close.
And it's
I'll give
true
this
for
like,
individuals and for startups. How much are you giving
yeah,
this?
7 on 10.
Yeah.
Numbers
Everyone's a
like
rapper.
reality. Yeah, memes actually have become such a big cultural thing that
Yeah.
you can actually communicate reality with memes. And this
Yeah.
is, I mean, and offline as well, we tried something new where we wanted to give feedback using memes. So somebody doesn't take it personally, but actually you still get the message across. So pretty interesting that way.
Pictures speak louder than 1,000 words. What's the next one? Me trying to bag VC funding. God, the text in this is small. I'm gonna have to like look a little bit closer. You can't raise money if you have no revenue model. Also, do you remember seeing Silicon Valley, the show on I think HBO?
Yeah, that was like full of meme material, the entire
Yeah,
series.
the whole show was one long meme, but there's this specific scene where there's a VC and who comes and says you can't make revenue. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, not that particular scene.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So what's your number for this?
I think this one's again, I think I'd give it a 6 and 10.
6 and 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 on 10. This is too real, man. Like half of the companies that I've invested in probably face the same dilemma every single day.
Some of these hit home, yeah.
Oh, this one's nice. Actual Indians equal to AI.
So this one's saying that the car's running someplace, but it's really being run by someone somewhere in India. Okay. Interesting. I
Yeah.
just like our driving style is markedly different from how driving happens elsewhere in the world. Powering
All right.
autonomy.
What's your number for this?
This one's actually funny. I think I'll give this an 8 and 10.
All right. This is too real. This is too real. Somebody missed like the investors in 2025. I mean, this in 2023 would be like Web3,
Yeah.
where everyone was chasing Web3. I was part of that game. and now everyone's chasing AI.
Why is it dragons? And it could have actually been herds of sheep.
Do you think the VC model is, I mean, we're going to ask Suhail all of these questions as well, but do you think like the venture model is herd mentality? A lot of founders complain about this as well.
Two ways of looking at it. One is obviously it's herd mentality, but look, I mean, VCs don't act in a vacuum. I think they're going to be, so it's also, they're going to follow the founders always. So if more founders are building AI companies, you're going to fund more AI companies. And again, VCs deploy capital on behalf of LPs. So what do LPs want you to be investing in? So I think they get pressurized from two different directions. But okay, someone else, I'm saying that because I work in that industry, but yeah.
Yes, so I
Balanced
think it's a
perspective.
factor of many things. Like how I take it is that if upstream or downstream capital, like I mean, people who are going to fund companies before you and people who are going to fund companies after you,
Yeah.
if they are investing in that trend, you sometimes tend to get into this play of momentum investing as well, where you think that, hey, this might get a good markup, might help me raise my next fund better or quicker, and all of those paper gains, right? So circular economy, man, everywhere. Hmm. Oh shit. By the way, TON is not a podcast, guys. We're a live show. So yeah, as you can see, that Dhruv has lighting back on.
Lighting's back on.
All right. Building a loss-making startup, wasting investor money, and founders on every podcast. So that's why I clarified we're not a podcast. It's amazing how these origin stories just keep popping up, right? It's the same struggle and same story, this thing.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Good set of memes.
Yeah. This one I think is a decent one. This is the next big thing. Christopher Nolan.
I think this is the $1 million question, right?
Hmm. All right, we're getting too pensive, this thing.
Yeah.
Nirvana, true nirvana. When you have product market fit. How do you know when you have product market fit?
Well, I think it's a little bit like just hotcakes selling off of shelves, right? Frankly, I mean, the closest I've gotten it, I think everything internally starts to feel broken. That's always that's a telltale sign that folks can't get enough of whatever you're shipping, whatever you're selling them.
All right, we've had too much of AI. I think our next guest or the first guest for today is ready. So let's actually switch the mood up a little bit. Suhail, welcome to the show. And I was telling Dhruv that there is no better guest to have on Friday than you, actually, because just look at you. You embody the word Friday in a beautiful way. So welcome.
My pleasure. You are going to see a bar behind me, but I think I've had to change my place. So, pleasure to be here.
Should we start with the hard questions or should we start with the easy ones?
Where are you tuning in from, Suhail?
Goa.
Oh, wow. See,
बताओ यार,
we're just
ये
wasting time
कैसे
with memes. We should have just waited for Suhail to join us.
to amp up the energy on the show. Hey, thank you so much.
What's happening in
I
Goa?
want to get started, Dhruv. Like
You get started.
with Suhail ko to I love troubling in a lot. So Suhail, आज ही भारत पे secondary की news पढ़ी 2.85 billion. How was
Yeah.
it living through the crisis? I think recap that thing when the whole, I mean, Kashmir saga was happening. The company every day was in the news for something.
Yeah.
How was the team morale? How did you rally the troops when you were the CEO?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, press keeps talking what they have to talk. You have to get down to business. To be fair, first 3-4 months were very tough. I think they were tough not because we were worried. Business kept chugging along. That's the beauty of a tech business. Once you put it in motion, it stays in motion for a while. I think it was tough because we couldn't tell the team what is happening, right? Because everything was sort of under investigation. And we were sort of, as you would have seen, a lot of it was anyway leaking, no matter from what source. So it was sort of a very hush-hush, and the team would come to you and they will ask you what is happening, and all you could say is believe in us. We know what we are doing. Give us a few months and we will clarify. I think at the point where we sort of told the team what had happened, I think since then it was sort of a lot more external noise than internal, to be honest.
Interesting. But I mean, come out stronger. I mean, the secondary is a sort of a validation as well that the valuation now, of course, stands at the current, the last round price. So I think congrats to the team for sticking it out and building a solid, sustainable business as well.
Absolutely. I think it was tough, bro. When we entered the crisis, I think we were sort of $20 million in revenue, sort of annualized revenue. And when we got out of it, we were around $200 million in revenue. So I think thankfully the business kept chugging along, team kept delivering, they kept sort of focus, while I and some of the leadership team were obviously partly distracted. But sort of great effort by the team to get us here. And now the business is profitable. Hopefully IPO in the offering soon enough, but yeah, great validation to sort of have the secondary round happen.
Suhail, were you still around when the bikes and the cricket tickets were offered to engineers? The most
yeah, very
was
early
that
days.
your idea? Did you greenlight that?
The ICC sponsorship as well.
ICC was sort of, I was sort of front and center of that, but I hope I was at the center of the bike idea. I don't think it was a bad idea, to be honest. Like from the point of view of you use a recruiting partner to hire, you end up anyway paying sort of 10-15% percentage of the compensation to them, right? So this created a lot of buzz. And if you actually think about it from a cost point of view, it was cheaper, if anything.
Paid for itself if you got the engineers you wanted.
Yeah, of course. And by the way, what was most surprising is no one took the bike, right? Because these are 23, 24-year-old kids. They're very excited by the prospect of a sports bike. But when they go home and say, we've got a job and we're getting a bike, parents would say, do anything, but don't take that bike, right? So we didn't end up giving a lot of the bikes, actually.
And you've been up to, of course, you're still following the fintech space because of your previous role at Pay, this thing. What's really happening in the world of UPI payments? Like, where do you see the whole landscape evolving?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So how UPI has grown, and I had the first-hand view actually in my first 3 months at 𝗪𝗲𝗍, right? Because I joined just at the beginning of sort of COVID, and everything went to zero. And we used to roughly do $1 billion of transaction before I joined, annualized, right? Annualized, not big. COVID happened, wave 1 happened, and sort of before wave 2 hit, our UPI transactions had gone to sort of $14 billion a year. We were not ready for it, right? So 14x from the peak we had seen in like a few months, we were not ready for it. And it sort of obviously continues to go strength to strength. I think payments will continue to sort of go digital as we see. Obviously, it will become tougher and tougher to make money on payments. Already UPI, you can't hardly make money. I think there is some money to be made on credit on UPI.
Do you think MDR will come in? MDR
unlikely. Again, like if you think from the benefit to the economy from going cashless and everything else from a GST point of view, tax point of view, I think a cost of like 20 bips on a transaction if I think from sort of as a government point of view, I don't think it makes sense. So obviously, the regulator has to also figure out how the industry will remain sustainable. And therefore, there may have to be either a MDR or something else to sort of compensate for that. But I would be surprised if MDR came back into being.
But indirect benefit to hai, right? They're taking cash out of the system, which of course powers a parallel economy. At least now people are in this thing. Vegetable vendors are now getting notices because of their UPI payments.
Yeah, so there is clearly benefit to the government, right? So why would they sort of start charging and move back to the world of where sort of people stop accepting UPI? Because that was the whole problem with POS machines in India, right? Merchants, it's not US, right? US, a merchant has 30% margin. He can afford to give you a couple of percentage out of that, no problem. Indian retailers operate at anywhere from sort of 10 to 15% margin, depending on category. If you're going to take 1.5-2% out of that, that's sort of a reasonable part of the income in the first place, right? So, and that's why POS never became big in India, and that's why sort of UPI came in. If you're going to now charge on UPI, it's sort of in a way a regressive step in my view, right? Of course, I'm not operating a fintech company. I can say this now, but I don't think sort of it is going to happen.
Would you buy the Pine Labs IPO?
Why are you getting me into trouble?
None of this is financial advice to our listeners, but
yeah, it is a massively overvalued company for no reason. It's a business which cannot grow at more than 10% year on year. It's been 20 years in making, and it is still less than $200 million in revenue. it should be valued 200 million, not 4 billion.
All right. Matlab, I have like now processed all of that info. Dhruv, I think it's on you.
You put it
Suhail,
on
आज की
me.
lunch
I
में
had no
cocktail तो
option.
नहीं ली थी ना?
You are putting me into trouble. I am like, I can't now lie.
I
All
think you
right.
should say you heard it first in the offline network. But Suhail, so now you have OTP Ventures. How long has it been? How large is the fund? Why is it called OTP Ventures? Are you having fun?
Yeah, we are having a lot of fun. The fund is not very old. We started in October last year. So just shy of a year. It's a 400 crore fund. Still raising, investing. Raising is not fun at all. I think I realized sort of having raised for a company, it's a lot more fun to raise for a company because one big person says yeah, yes, one fund says yes, you're done by and large with your round. But when you're raising a fund for yourself, it's like everyone who says yes is 1-2% of the fund, 2% of the fund. So you basically don't feel happy at any point of time, right? It's like a constant churn to raise capital. But investing side is incredible fun, right? So you, on an average, meet 3-4 founders a day, all trying to sort of build large businesses, unique propositions, getting to learn sort of faster than what I have ever learned. So I think that's sort of the exciting part of the business.
You also say it's a terminal job, right?
Yeah, it's the terminal job. I think this is
So-
what we
so-
are doing for the rest of the life.
So talk to the young audience, a lot of young, bright people who want to be in venture. What would Suhail Sameer say to them?
Yeah, I think again, it may not necessarily be valid for everyone because there are tons of investors who've only done investing and have done incredibly well. I actually believe sort of coming to investing after having spent some time in an operating role, having built a business, I think makes you much better suited for the job, right? I think like when I sort of use crude language, I say people who've sort of never put anything at risk, have never built anything. When I was interviewing with VC firms out of McKinsey, I used to tell them, this is what my compensation is. How much will you pay me? So a person who has never even put his compensation at risk is, in my view, not necessarily best suited to take risk decisions, right? And of course, many people will be so bright that they will still prove you wrong. But I think I generally believe sort of having it's better to sort of go out, build something, work in an early stage startup. You don't have to be an entrepreneur necessarily yourself. Work in sort of a corporate for a couple of years, sort of have a startup stint, and that will sort of make you a lot more appreciative of what it takes to build a business, and that would make you sort of a lot more helpful to a founder who is building and struggling, and help him navigate sort of the challenges he goes through, right? So I usually tell people to sort of go and work in a startup before they start investing.
And you raised a 400 crore fund, right, at OTP now. And 80 investments is something that you've done over your career. You've spent time at RPG Ventures as well?
Yeah, so I set up RPG Ventures. Now it's called RPSG Capital. So did the first fund, basically hired Abhishek, who now runs it, is incredibly good at what he does, hired him. First few investments were solely me, sort of. Then Abhishek came in and we started scaling. The first fund has actually done very well. Abhishek has raised a much larger fund. We've probably done 15 odd investments from the first fund there. And generally great companies, right? You have something like McAfee, Plex, Sold Store, Dr. Vaidya's, and a bunch of sort of good companies got built out of that. And
you've always, I've seen in your investing, you were, of course, one of the first angels. Actually, the first angel in 𝗪𝗏 as well. That was your big
first check. But again, like a lot of people give me credit for that, Varun is like my childhood friend. I say this often to people who give me credit for that even if Varun was sort of selling cow dung, I would have invested in it. It was not
multiple
sort of a really...
What was the multiple? I know people have done these analysis on LinkedIn. Can we...
Yeah, I saw a very beautiful analysis of how I have made 2000x on it. I think that was off by a fair bit. I think we would have ended up making a 400x on that investment.
Crazy. But you're continuing with consumer investing. Is that majority of the portfolio at OTP as well?
So yeah, I think as we thought about setting up the fund, and Kunal, 𝗬𝗏, my co-founders, are also been founders, sold their company 𝗬𝗵𝗶 to Google. I think what we felt was missing in the ecosystem is sort of operators coming in and investing and helping companies build better. As we started sort of thinking about that, I think we also came to the realization that if we are saying that, it can't be just a speech. We have to actually have the ability to help, right? And as soon as that sort of became the guardrail, it became very obvious that if you sort of hear Kunal, Maya, Saurabh's background, it's all about consumer brands, consumer tech, fintech, but again, B2C fintech mostly, right? I treat BharatPe as a B2C business because a shopkeeper, there are a crore of them, right? So you have to sort of treat them as individuals. So the fund thesis is also consumer. When I say consumer, I don't mean only brands. We do sort of all tech plays. It's more a horizontal, right? When you're doing B2C businesses, that is for us. Now, whether it's tech first, tech enabled, or no tech, whether it is in health, whether it's in education, whether it's in financial services, that we care lesser about. But I think what we believe is we have a bit of a pulse on how consumers think and how they make their purchase decisions. And that's where sort of we want to invest.
Suhail, and consumer, so there's two sides to Suhail, by the way. There's obviously the lighthearted and fun side we wanted you to see, but also there's this really sharp mathematical side. Let's try and bring that out. So Suhail, with consumer companies, people often say there are mathematical orbits they have to jump from time to time in terms of how much they're making every month, how much they're making every year, even when you start planning for exits of these companies. So give us a mathematical perspective on this.
I don't know. I think a lot of people also say that consumer businesses cannot scale massively. Obviously, like consumer tech has definitely proven that to be wrong with sort of Zomato, Swiggy, and the likes. But even on sort of core consumer brands, I think what we really like, to be honest, we don't do as much maths about sort of how big it could become. But I think what is beautiful about sort of consumer brands is once they cross a particular threshold, which some brands can cross like as early as 3 to 4 years in today's days, like 100 crore revenue, it is very difficult for a consumer brand to sort of, for a lack of a better word, die, right? Because the businesses by definition have such high gross margins that a business which is sort of doing 7-8 crore a month, 100 crore a year, by definition, unless it's growing at a crazy pace, will be profitable, right? So what we like about the consumer businesses actually is the capital efficiency of the business, and sort of as we think about sort of investing as well, we basically think about, do we have confidence that this founder in this category, with or without our help, can get to sort of a 10 crore a month number, right? And if we believe that, then sort of a lot of the hurdles are already crossed. And then you're, of course, doing your usual, how big can this be? What sort of an exit will I get? But I think sort of the core question for us is, do we see 100 crore revenue over the next 3-4 years? And if we see that, then we invest, right? These businesses, you would have seen multiple cases. Even Mamaearth is a great example. When the company went public, founders still owned 40% of the company. When Minimalist was sold, we all have heard the numbers on sort of how much founders owned.
Were you invested in Minimalist?
It's so weird. I think there are only 2 companies which we regret not being investors in. One of them is Minimalist, the other is 𝗵𝗂𝗫. And I'm sure I'm missing a few, but these 2 are sort of companies we had.
Thinking, why did you not invest in 𝗵𝗂𝗫 and Minimalist both?
𝗵𝗂𝗫 I didn't actually see. But Minimalist, I think our core premise at that time, and I love how they have proven it wrong, is India is not yet ready for specific solution-oriented brands, right? This is obviously a 7-8-year-old story. Like we were still grappling with India's per capita consumption of sort of personal care being $8. And we were like, abhi shampoo solve kar lo and sort of face cream solve kar lo, saying that we will give you vitamin C, which will sort of help you with this. We will give you minoxidil, which people didn't even know what it meant. We felt sort of the market was not ready. And, one of my, and this has happened to us a few times. And my biggest learning on all of this is, I think great founders prove you wrong, right? And I think our businesses anyway, sort of as a VC, we are proven wrong more often than not. And sort of we've taken a very conscious call that if we really love the founders, even if we are not sometimes seeing the category being ready today, we now tend to sort of back them and believe they will sort of grow with the category. And if the category doesn't sort of jump at the rate at which we expect, then they will figure out a way on how to pivot out of that, right? So Minimalist was just pure of lack of conviction of having a bespoke personal care brand sort of being large in India. And since then, we invested in 𝗧𝗏. They obviously delivered on this. Now we have a couple of investments from the fund, which are actually on very similar lines, solving different set of problems. But I think now it's much easier to see after the Minimalist success that you can go down that path. But to be honest, that time we just couldn't get convinced around this.
No, you've done exceptionally well. Dhruv, any final question for Suhail?
No, not really. I mean, I'm just very glad to have seen Suhail today. Thank you for coming. Thanks for tuning in.
Suhail, one final one. What's the cocktail of choice for today? Friday in Goa.
Friday in Goa is most people like Palomas here, but I will stick to Negroni. So,
Chalo, all the best. Enjoy the weekend. See you soon.
Take care. See you. Bye.
Bye.
See you, Suhail.
Bye.
All right. So we've heard investing in consumer brands from Suhail and his time at BharatPe, and now the cocktail story as well. But before we end the show, I think this is the segment to watch out for. We have Matt, who almost single-handedly changed how India consumes its coffee. We are majorly a tea drinking nation, and Matt has done an exceptional job with Blue Tokai Coffee, so much so that I have my cup ready to have this chat with him. Let's welcome Matt. Matt, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Nice. I mean, I see the design at your back. I think it's a Blue Tokai.
Yeah. We have the artwork on the walls here in our conference room. So
who does this art for you? Yeah, who does this art?
Yeah, art. You mentioned the story on the packets of beans and everything that comes, but tell us for our audience, like, what's the real story behind this art?
Yeah, so actually, this art is the brainchild of my partner, 𝗪𝗲𝗍𝗏. So when we were designing the brand, we wanted to have a brand identity that was really evocative of where the coffee comes from, because people didn't know that India grew good quality coffee. I was like, 𝗪𝗲𝗍𝗏, we're already paying a premium for this coffee. It's going to be expensive. We need to make the packaging really minimal, basic. She's like, no, this is really important that we have a nice looking packaging that kind of tells the story. Luckily, she won out that argument. And so we partnered with some local artisans. So this is all traditional Indian, different styles of traditional Indian art forms. We commissioned artists to sort of depict what they would imagine a coffee plantation looks like. So then we got this art, and then we put it across our packaging, our cups, in the cafes. It became an integral part of our brand identity.
Oh, solid. I mean, it's iconic.
Yeah.
How many stores do you have now, Matt?
Now we're at about 180.
And they're all in India?
180 in India, and then one outside right now in Tokyo. We should be opening up in Dubai by the end of this year.
Awesome. Before we go into the expansion plans, let's educate anyone who's tuning in the different waves of coffee, right? I mean, you've had the first wave, second wave, third wave, and possibly a fourth wave very soon also. So what's the journey like for the coffee industry?
Yeah, so first wave was predominantly the instant coffee, kind of the Nescafes and the Folgers, something that was very easy to use and affordable. Second wave was when coffee culture really got kind of solidified. So most of the big international coffee chains are second wave. So the likes of a Starbucks, a Costa, Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, they would be having better quality coffee than instant, but not really the best quality. But what they did is they brought kind of the cafe culture to everybody. Part of that was kind of this idea of a third place where cafes are not just about having the coffee, but about having a place to congregate, to have meetings, to work, to socialize. Then the third wave is when people really started focusing on coffee itself. So how is that coffee grown? How is it processed? Where is it grown? Does the terroir impart particular flavors to it? So really focusing on sourcing very high quality unroasted coffee, roasting that coffee very carefully, because actually how you roast the coffee really brings out the flavors. Unroasted coffee just has flavor potential, but how you roast it determines which of those flavors come out. and then paying attention to how you brew the coffee. So upskilling baristas, teaching baristas to extract the maximum flavor from that coffee, teaching them to communicate what's unique about that coffee to customers. That's a big part of it. So really focusing on quality within the beverage itself. That's been the third wave of coffee.
And that's how the consumers also kept up, Matt?
I mean, so consumers probably don't know anything about these waves, right? They're like,
care about good coffee.
Coffee, just give me a coffee. But when each of these new waves have come in, they've changed the market, right? So Starbucks disrupted the market in the US. They brought cafe culture there and actually around the globe. I mean, in India, CCD definitely disrupted the market when they came. There was no real cafe culture here. So they were very instrumental in bringing that change about. Now I think, you know, over time, people have gravitated towards specialty coffee. In the US, for example, it's more than half of the market. Here, it's very, you know, it's just a nascent, you know, it's only been about 12, 13 years.
What percentage of India drinks coffee and what percentage is tea?
I mean, everybody drinks coffee in India. Statistics are notoriously unreliable. So I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate answer. Roughly everybody drinks tea. Everybody drinks tea. That's 100%. Coffee is probably right now sitting at about a quarter of that.
Nice. And I mean, so these newer players that have cropped up, right? Who are doing these 99 rupee lattes and stuff. What's your take on them? Are they trying to replace, say, their blue Tokai coffee, or is it just more for actually frequent consumption but lower wallet load?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea is that if you reduce the price, you're going to drive increased consumption. And I think there's a couple of challenges with that in the India context. One is that coffee itself is not yet moved to become totally functional. It's still quite experiential. So until that behavior is that I have to have a coffee, I have to have multiple cups of coffee a day, reducing the price isn't necessarily going to solve that. So essentially people are coming to a cafe for a coffee for sure, but also for, you know, the food offering they have, the environment that they have. And the challenge with this kind of grab and go culture is that India is not set up for a grab and go, right?
Yeah.
Right? The infrastructure is not there. It's not, no one goes on and stops at a cafe, picks up a coffee and walks to the office. Maybe in some corporate buildings that happens, but for the large majority that doesn't exist. That behavior has mostly translated to the delivery channel. So, you know, most cafes in India have a healthy share of their revenue coming from delivery. But this 99 rupee coffee is a hard sell because coffee prices have escalated. They're at all-time highs right now. So the margin that you're earning from that coffee is only going to be sustainable if you have incredible throughput. And then
really? What's the increase in price of coffee? Sorry, we've never paid attention to that.
Yeah, so it's gone up by almost 100% in the last year. So
wow. Why?
Many factors. There's been poor weather in the large producing countries, so Brazil and Colombia. These are kind of market setters. So if the crop gets affected there, that trickles down to the commodity price. And the commodity price ultimately becomes a benchmark even here in India for what everybody pegs their selling price to. Because at the end of the day, coffee is very fungible. If I don't have domestic buyers here in India, I can easily export it. So there's not a lot of price arbitrage that can happen by being in a coffee producing country. The tariffs that the US has put on has also caused a lot of supply disruptions, which again has caused the commodity price to shoot up. But primarily it's been driven by increase in demand, particularly from coffee producing countries, developing countries. Coffee culture has really taken off in those countries, and supply being constrained by climate change.
But today, Matt, when we have a cup of blue Tokai coffee, it's 100% of that coffee is Indian coffee, sourced from Indian estates.
Correct.
Give us a sense of the quality bands. And the last time I was at one of your cafes, there was that thing they hand you over to take back to your table with a number on it. It said there's 60 Q graders in India, and Blue Tokai works with 4 of them. So for us and our listeners, who are Q graders? Why are you working? What's their job? Why do you work with?
Sure. So actually there is so in order for coffee to be considered specialty, apart from sort of this focus on quality, there's actually a score that has to be applied to that coffee.
Yeah.
And so Q graders are people who are trained to score coffee objectively. The idea is that if I'm a Q grader here in Delhi and you're a Q grader sitting in Australia, we taste the same coffee, we should score it exactly the same. So in order to be considered specialty grade, a coffee has to score above 80 points on a 100-point scale. So what the curators look for is, does the coffee have unique flavor notes? Does it have sweetness? Does it have acidity? Does it have body? How does it feel on your palate? Are there any off notes? And then all of these things stack up to get a score out of 100. 80 points is the minimum for it to be considered specialty grade. We typically source anywhere from 83 to 87, 88 point coffees.
And we want to congratulate you. You've raised 25 million as well. Now the aim is to go global. You mentioned one store that you have in Japan and now in UAE as well. Both extremely tough markets as well, right? I think Tokyo's biggest export, Arabica, of course, that's made waves across the world as well. Tell us why the reason to go to these markets and nowhere else in, say, Southeast Asia.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that press release was a little bit
exaggerated.
Yeah. Actually, we see way more opportunity here in India than any other market. We have plans to open, I mean, to get to 800 stores in the next couple of years. So the capital was really raised more to accelerate our domestic expansion rather than to go into international markets. We've been in Japan for 3 years now. It is a very different, very challenging market for sure. Culturally, it's quite different than India. People work the working style is very different. The language is different. And you really have to be established there for many, many years before Japanese customers start to trust you. So now we're starting to see the fruits of that coming to play. And so we'll be opening up a few more locations there. With the Middle East, we see it more of an extension of India, actually. Just, there's a lot of Indians who are already aware of the brand there. There's a lot of, resonance with what we're doing. And it's a huge coffee drinking market. So actually in the Middle East, we've tied up with a partner there who's going to be doing the on-the-ground execution, and then we'll be supplying all the raw material and the know-how to them, and they'll be running the operations.
And Matt, the food business, so 𝗧𝗵𝗲 is that brand. How did you get us the story of how you discovered them? How did you integrate the two brands and how?
Yeah, so
what does it mean in business? Yeah.
I wish it was the case that you could run a cafe without having food, but the reality of the business here is that people come and they want something to eat. So we've always been looking for food partners because food was never our expertise. And so within food, obviously pastry has a long-standing association with coffee. So we were always on the lookout for different pastry vendors. And I think it would have been 7, 8 years ago, we happened to connect with 𝗧𝗵𝗲. There's actually a baker named 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Mm-hmm. She was running a tiny hole-in-the-wall place in Sona Road. But she had a lot of, it reminded us a lot of how we started. We started from, my wife's parents' spare bedroom. She was in this tiny little place. She had gone to the US and studied because she really wanted to bring authentic bakery to India. And just her focus on quality and the way that she was operating really resonated with us. And so we started working with her. And sort of as we grew, 𝗧𝗵𝗲's grew alongside it with us. So they opened up in Bombay and started supplying in Bombay. They opened up in Calcutta. And after a point in time, the majority of 𝗧𝗵𝗲's revenues was coming from Blue Tokai. So it just made sense to kind of merge the two companies and operate together.
And I mean, so sourdough bread, which I think 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was partly responsible for popularizing, right? Because during the COVID wave, I think during the COVID era, when everyone was, I think, doing their own starters at home, and 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was responsible. I think you guys were responsible for delivering some of the best sourdough bread. So how much of your business comes from delivery? Because coffee, it's not fun to order a cappuccino at home. If somebody enjoys the microfoam and other things, like it's not built for delivery. But other things are, maybe like 𝗧𝗵𝗲's products are. So what's the split in terms of your delivery?
So actually overall revenue is around 33% coming from delivery. But
33%.
33%, but actually on delivery, the skew is more towards food and less towards coffee. And in dine-in, the skew is more towards coffee and less towards food. So net, it kind of balances out to 33% of the total revenue, whereas 45% overall is coming from beverages, 40% is coming from food, and 15% is coming from the coffee and bread combined, the packets.
I love the Vienna roast, and Silver Oak is, of course, my favorite whole bean option as well.
We got to get you on the light roast coffee. You got to get the fruitier, funkier ones.
All right. Give me one that I'll try. Give me a name.
So Riverdale is a good one.
Riverdale?
We'll be launching another coffee from 𝗪𝗲𝗬𝗪. That's excellent. So I'd recommend you.
How do you have your coffee? Like, and how many do you have in a day? I
So
know
I
but for our audience.
normally drink Americanos because it's fast. In 30 seconds, you can brew a cup. So that's my go-to. On the weekends, I'll make a pour over, or I'll order coffee on Zomato from the outlet and get it delivered home.
Yeah, I remember you picking up a coffee from the airport when we were going for the Goa poker tournament, where you said that you had to pay at your own restaurant, which I think is a good practice as well. And congrats on winning the poker series as well.
Yeah, it's such a bummer that so I now I can be I'm the undefeated offline poker champion because no one will be able to take that crown from me.
Yeah, so keep that trophy. Maybe it's going to become like valuable in a while when like poker tournaments, people reminisce about those things.
Yeah.
This is how I'm having my Blue Tokai these days, Matt. The Nespresso pods. And so how many different SKUs do you have now?
I mean, if I count everything at the cafe, there would be almost 300 across. I mean, so actually, apart from 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗧, there's another brand that we acquired, a bubble tea brand. So between these three brands, we have more than 300 SKUs across.
And Nespresso, like, I mean, one final question for me before we let you go. I mean, do you like Nespresso pods? Like, do you think that's a good way to make coffee? It's a quick one.
I'm not the TG for it because I have access to all of the equipment and everything, right? If I didn't have that, I can see how it'd be a very useful alternative because you just press a button and you get a good cup of coffee. I mean, it's 5 grams of coffee is in one of those. So the strength is never going to be what you get from when you brew it yourself. But I think for people who are looking for smaller cups and a very convenient form factor, it's definitely a good product.
How big is your roasting operation now across India? Like, where all do you have roasteries?
So we currently just operate in Delhi and Delhi and Bangalore. We had recently shut down our Bombay roastery just because there's no real advantage of having 3 roasteries across the country. It makes more sense to kind of centralize. So Delhi can cater to the entire north and west or east, and Bombay or Bangalore can cater to the south. But we just opened up it's almost a 40,000 square foot facility in Bangalore that has bakery plus roasting combined. So that's really become our kind of flagship production location. There we have 4 roasting machines installed, all kinds of the state-of-the-art equipment.
And I'm guessing tastes also vary, right? North and South. South is big on filter coffee and maybe other forms of coffee.
Not within. I mean, within our customer base, tastes are very similar, and the roasting style is the same. So whether your order gets roasted in Delhi or whether it gets roasted in Bangalore, the taste will be the same because we have all the parameters set up so that it's consistent. But we don't really notice a lot of variability in terms of what sells across different geographies. There is some nuance, like in Bombay, the delivery percentage is higher than the overall average just because people are used to it there. Calcutta is heavier on food, so AOVs are much higher in Calcutta, share of beverage is lower there. But apart from that, on the coffee side, it's quite similar across the entire country.
Awesome. Dhruv, you want to close us out?
What's next for Blue Tokai, Matt?
More stores. So we're really, as I mentioned, really feel that the opportunity in India is tremendous. People will be happy to know that we're actually going to be able to drop the prices soon because of these GST reforms. So directly see a benefit from that, and glad to be able to pass that on to consumers. So I think that's a good thing, a good step that the government has taken. But we just see, coffee culture as an inflection point here in India, and so much room to grow from here.
Awesome,
Lots
Matt.
more places to go have your Blue Tokais and maybe even save some money on them.
Yeah,
Matt, such a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. Wishing you all the success and 500, 800, 1,000 stores very, very soon. Thank you so much. I wish there was a way for us to send Suhail an espresso martini in Goa. Both Matt and Suhail are close friends of offline, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt. See you. Have a good one. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've had a good week with us. You've had fun. We had a mini meme session as well today, and we'll keep experimenting with new formats. We've got an exciting lineup of guests for our week 4 to close out the first month as well. So let's get to work this weekend, and hopefully we'll see you bright and not early, but bright and excited at Monday 4 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in.